And I was like, okay, let me apply for that job.
Yeah.
Because it's COVID, they're hiring a lot of people because they think a lot of people is going to be unemployed, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm like, okay, I feel like I can do this. I applied for it and they put me on a reserve list. And I was like, oh, this is dead, bro. 2021, January, I'm on the reserve list. I'm going to have to go back to three. Like, this is dead out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really don't want to go back to this job. I've learned what I needed to learn here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they called me back in February and they was like, oh, we seen you live in Essex. We got some positions out there. Ratata. I'm like, all right, bet. Let's do it, man. So they gave me 5 options. The options that I wanted, which would have been very more accessible for me to get to on my train line, which would be 30, 40 minutes away, they didn't have. They had one option of Chelmsford, which is in Essex, but it's like a 2-hour bus ride. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
That's even worse.
yeah. So it's either you get the train into London and come out, which is like 25 quid and it's still about an hour and a half, or you get like a 2-hour bus ride. So I was on the call with this lady, she's telling me this, and she's like, but you can wait, something else might come up. But something in me was just like, no, just take it. Like, you'll figure it out. I can't explain it, just take it, you'll figure it out, don't worry. And I was like, I told her, said, I'm taking it, boom. So I take this job, right? I start in March. And like I said, by this time I'm out, it's COVID, you know, I'm out of love with the game, personal development, it's cool, but I'm not even really, you know, messing with it too much. I'm just gonna go to work. But you know, it's that thing that just keeps calling you back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see as I'm starting the job, I'm thinking, oh, you know, maybe I could check out, there's this organization called Alternatives, and they do like kind of talks and spiritual talks in London or whatever. And I rarely, if ever, check their email. But I was like, let me check their email. I checked their email, and there's this guy called Michael Neill doing this 3-part course on Zoom called A Whole New Way of Thinking About Changing Your Life. Now, you heard the story. Obviously, I've been thinking about changing my life for quite a long time, right? But I'm like, I've been in the game. I know names. I said, I've never heard of this guy. Like, who's this guy, bro? Like,
Out of nowhere, yep.
I've never heard of him. But I'm like, I'm getting the feeling. But I'm like, yo, but this course, I'm reading about the 3 parts. I'm like, oh, this is fire. This looks fire. But it's £100. So I said, all right, bet. Before I buy it, yo, let me buy his book. So you know what I mean? Or 1 or 2 of them, so I can feel into it, you know?
Let me
pay £10 versus paying 100, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And now as well, I got this 2-hour bus ride. It's just like, I've got time. I got 4 hours a day. We ain't
Perfect.
Easy. So The Space Within was the first book. I'm on the bus. I'm listening to it. And I'm like, oh my days. That was it. This is it. This has been it the whole time. Like, I remember I was doing like The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, going through that course at the time. And she said something about like a completion. You know, it's not that it dismisses all the other things, but it was like the completion of the learning, right? And there's still obviously there's infinite levels, but that's just the best way I could put it. It brought together all those different things that I'd been doing, and I just saw it, and it's like, this ain't nothing new. Like, this ain't no dope new idea, new technique. Like,
this is, bro. What you saying about the completion and bringing something about that? Whoever, like, this is Michael ain't paying me not a red cent. But what he did do for me was he unlocked spirituality for me. Now I read the Bible and I understand what they're trying to say.
It's a whole different experience,
right? I read the Quran. I read the Tao. I go to a coaching seminar. I understand what I'm. It's like man, keep going, man. It's good.
Trust me. And you know what? I remember it wasn't even the first line. Was actually the foreword. You know, where it hit me, and that was written by Dr. Robert Holden, who I've had the pleasure to actually meet, you know, and it was just a line. I remember the line. It said, you know, if you put down the book that's entitled like My Mind, you can look up and you can see a whole library of possibilities, and you can even read the thoughts of God, you know, something to that extent. And it was like, wow, like nothing is fixed. Like this whole thing that I think is like, if I can put that down, and there's a whole library of possibilities available in any situation. It was like, man, I got the feeling, I say it was like the Matrix, like Neo jump saying, I saw the numbers, I was like, oh my days, like this is wild. Now of course I went on to then pay that £100. That's like, needless to say, I slid that, I said, yo, take my money out right now.
He said, here's my money, sir.
and that course, and then again, that course, mind-blowing, like amazing. It was incredible. I still have the recordings because they sent them out to us, but like there was the one story he told, I remember, I think it was on the first session, and he was like, there was a guy in California who, he like lived in the hills, he was in this tribe or something, and he'd come down from the hills, and like university professors used to take him to different universities to do talks and whatever, because obviously he came from a very tribal whatever thing. So one day they're about to get the train, and he like hides behind the pillar, or something like that, and everyone's there, the guys looking around like, where is he? But eventually, that he comes out and he gets on the train, and they asked him like, why did you hide behind the train? He's like, well, when I was in my tribe, when we were living there, we would look down and we would see these trains, and we'd think they're like dragons or something like that. You know what I mean? Or fire breathing, like demons, or just something like that, to be afraid of. So they were like, well, if you like thought that, then why did you come out? And he said, in my life, I've learned it's better to be curious than afraid.
Bruh. That's a mic drop right there. Man, it's very interesting hearing, like, because I have my own, understanding, my own view of Michael, my own view of what's going on. And then to hear how, like, your story to getting to this point currently, where it wasn't that it was a hard, arduous road or anything like that, but there were twists, there were turns, there were obstacles, there were things that were going up and down, in and out. And the fact that you, right as you were about to like throw in the towel, you're like, all right, man, I think it's about that time. Wisdom kicked in. Whatever that is, shows you in the moment where you got just enough time to do exactly what you need. And it looked like you didn't even need the whole book. Sound like you just need the beginning. You need the first couple sentences. But here we are, like, so now that you because I wrote down on here, what do you see the difference between landmark and like the principles, the understanding? I also wrote down, what is the understanding in your opinion? So like it's all kinds of questions.
Well, I feel like it's the same thing, but just said in a different way. But for me, the principles is just the simplest way, I would say. Because landmark it adds in those kind of performance element, those distinctions around like integrity, being your word, enrollment, leadership. It's more into the form, right? Now, but the essence of landmark is like everything is nothing. Like you are making the meaning of your life. Like all these things is just what you're creating. And I remember leaving the landmark forum on the final day, and it was this weird like zen I was in on the tube, and I was just like laughing. It's like, oh my god, like we're all in separate realities. Like we're all creating our own reality, like right now. It's like I could just go up and scream, do you know what I mean? And it's like, why not? It was mad. And for me, the principles just, it tells you what the components to that reality is. It just says these are the elements. These are the elements to reality. Thought, consciousness, mind. Those are just the elements. That's it. And you can read, like you said, you can read the Bible and you can see that in a different way. And really, we all go, it's really one element. Do you know what I mean? Then when you deepen your understanding, like it's one element. Like it's God, it's universe, it's energy, whatever you want to call it. Like it's one. We are all of one energy, but we have then that energy splits into four: our ability to create from that energy, and consciousness, our ability to be aware of that energy. and then there's a just an eternal running wisdom that connects everything that we are a part of, that's always present, that never goes anywhere, you know. And then the consciousness also comes with like a space of grace, which is what I call it, like that you're always whole, complete, and perfect within this consciousness. If you rest in this awareness, then nothing on the surface can ever like move you. You might be shaken, but not stirred. You know, that was a metaphor, right? You might be temporarily shaken, but you can never be permanently stirred. So nothing in its own external can never actually disturb your fundamental, innate mental health and well-being.